How's it going, sports fans? This is Jack and Ryan with the Talking Jack Sports Podcast. What's up, Ryan?
Happy to be here. Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
I'm excited because we are continuing our NFL preview. We did AFC last week, and we're doing NFC today. College football is happening. That's been exciting. Rough one for one of us, but the other one is still on top.
I don't know if you actually want to do a segment here, but I'll keep it brief. There was a lot to look. Not a lot. There's still the same concerns. We're basically right where we left off with.
We,
Florida
for
State.
new listeners, is LSU. Our friend Ryan is an LSU Tiger. So.
I am a Tiger. I don't know if you saw Brian Kelly's interview, like post-game interview.
I did. He was very frustrated.
Hilarious. It was hilarious. I thought it was the funniest. He was like, "Man, we're at the same spot." The punch on the ground was always fun.
He probably had to get surgery on his hand after that one.
Yeah, no, but I think the offense was good. I think Nuss was good. I do think our defense improved, but
I'd say it improved. I mean, you bottled up the USC offense for a considerable portion of that game, but just couldn't finish.
I was gonna say going from literal ground zero to like an inch up is still technically improvement. So I expect to see that a little bit more, and I think we were just working out some kinks with coaching. So not like the worst thing. It was a heartbreaking loss, but not the worst thing that could have happened. We could have just straight up imploded, but we did not, and we're still ranked, so it's not the end of the world.
There you have it. Not much to say for me on my side of the deal. Georgia looks just as dominant as ever, but the one criticism I will say is that we carried over the second half team from last year. I don't appreciate that. I would love it if we came out swinging and we just didn't save our best football for the second half. Though, if you're going to save it for a certain half, I would appreciate the back half. Ryan, you were there, and you were seeing a lot of the same concerns that I was. To start that game, our pass rush was getting pretty bottled up by the Clemson line, but we came into our own. Michael Williams did sprain his ankle, which is a bit of a concern going into more of a tougher slate than some others to open up the season, but he gets a week of rest, I would assume, this weekend as we play Tennessee Tech. So,
I was just saying, not a whole lot. Y'all had defenses as dominant as ever. I'm concerned about the offense. If you play like a super high caliber offense, you might lose it. Y'all also kind of hit them with the death by 1,000 cuts there. So
I would say that's fair. One thing that surprised me most
was your friend.
Definitely, and it always is. That's the Mike Bobo system. He really utilizes the short game. And the one thing that surprised me the most was that the real uninvolvement of Oscar Delp. I feel like he was barely even relevant out there. As a blocker, I wasn't really paying too much attention to his assignments there. So, if you're not seeing him, but he's out there, he's probably doing some work on that front. But his name was rarely being called, which surprised me. But you know what? If a guy like him, who is like a potential all-SEC tight end, like real successor to Brock Bowers, is barely relevant, and you're beating the number 14 team in the nation by 4 scores,
you should
bodes well.
Right.
So
yeah. I thought you were talking about lineman for a sec because I was going to bring up Will Campbell. Dude was doing good on that pass. He was a little disappointing on the run game.
Yeah.
That's our big old tackle for people who don't know.
Yes, of course. We love Will Campbell.
I would say Will Campbell's goated. I hope he's a Falcon. I don't know how he will, but one day.
It'll happen one day, and it'll make everybody happy.
We will draft an LSU guy, and I will be so happy to get his jersey. He will never play a snap knowing my luck, but I'll get his jersey.
One day it'll happen. It's kind of the same deal for me being a Washington fan. Like the really only notable Georgia player that we've employed in Washington has been Champ Bailey, and I have his jersey. So, hopefully we can get somebody soon because Philly's doing a whole lot, and they seem to be pretty successful. So hopefully we can copy the division.
Philly, aka University of Eagles.
Yeah, seriously, I hope we can take some of their tactics instead of just giving them Jahan Dotson. But Speaking of that, I would love to get into the NFC preview. We can kick it off with I have NFC East first on my list.
I was gonna say we were just talking about them.
So we can segue right into them. A bit of a bump because I won't talk about that move right away because I think we both will agree. We have a team finishing last in the division that is not an unpopular pick, to say the least. The New York Giants have a lot of struggles. And there is a couple of bright spots, right? They have a really potent defensive line with Sexy Dexy and new acquisition Brian Burns. They look to be pretty competitive there from a rushing standpoint, but from an everything else standpoint, I'm really concerned.
They have one good receiver.
Well, that's true. From a Malik Neighbors standpoint, he will be there. Shout out, by the way, to Malik Neighbors waltzing into the Big Apple and saying, yeah, that number that's been retired for 90 years, I'll take it.
That's mine now. I was going to say that. Honestly, it's just the LSU personality, if we're being real here. You got to love it. You can love it, you can hate it, but in this case, I like it. The dude is good, you know?
Yeah, I
mean, honestly, I can't even remember whose number they retired.
Oh, it was like it was the first retired jersey number ever.
Oh.
Like ever.
Okay, maybe he's not that. You know what? No.
If he's anything less than a superstar, then that's going to be like an all-time gaffe. Everyone's going to be like, remember when he got the number of the guy that was the first retired jersey ever?
First time retired jersey ever is kind of crazy, but hey, he won't disappoint. That's my prediction.
I hope so, because I am a fan of Malik Neighbors, but I'm not a fan of the Giants. I have them going 3-14, last in division.
Also have them going 3-14. You kind of hit everything right where it needed to be. They kind of suck. Like they don't kind of suck. They really do. There's not a lot going there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it will inevitably land on Daniel Jones if he's going to play good or bad. I'm not putting any eggs in that basket. I'm not going to put any money on that. So I think 3-14 it's a pretty solid spot for them.
Yeah, I would say that they are going to be looking to take Carson Beck with the first overall pick here in April. So, or Shador Sanders, I guess, apparently. So there's the Giants. And by the way, if you want to see more opinions about quarterbacks like Daniel Jones, we're posting on TikTok our complete cumulative ranking of all 32 starting quarterbacks. So check that out on the TikTok.
You want to put the disclaimer that the rookies are dead last?
All the rooks are dead last, but give them 1 week and they'll probably shoot up the list. But
I was going to say exactly.
We don't put stock into the preseason like that. But regardless, the Giants are last. And second to last in the division, this one hurts me as a fan to say because I feel like we have some pieces to overcome this, but in a division with two ubiquitous playoff contenders at the last 4 or 5 years, the Commanders can't get it done. And it's sad to say, but I have my Commanders going 8-9, which is pretty solid for first year Jaden Daniels, whom I had my concerns about for sure. You can go back to the pod, you can go back to the TikTok. I am on record saying that I like Drake May more, but only one of those two has shown some crazy, crazy physical ability so far in the preseason. Something I said I don't put too much stock into, but I was really afraid that these physical tools we all know Jaden Daniels has wouldn't exactly transfer into the pros, and it looks like they have. Even in his first preseason game, he showed the arm, he showed the precision, and he showed the rushing ability. So I like him a lot. I don't love a lot of the rest of the roster. I think the defense is full of holes. I think the linebacker core is, older, but it's improving, right? We have Bobby Wagner, who is still serviceable. We got the guy from Carolina, Frankie Louvu, who I think is a future star in the making. But then you move north into the secondary, and you find Emmanuel Forbes, one of the biggest draft whiffs we've seen in the past 5 years. That dude will probably be out of the league in 2 seasons. It will shock me if he makes a 53-man roster by around next September and beyond, because he is some dookie. But regardless, our offensive weapons are looking pretty okay, kinda. And then we traded Jahan Dotson in division for a third, which is also really disappointing.
Not the best idea there, but I do like y'all's offense, and I'm glad you mentioned the Jan Daniels. I'm glad you mentioned the preseason, because what I look for the uncoachable stuff. It's stuff that takes a long time to, actually develop. And Daniels definitely showed the arm talent, the speed, the quickness on his feet. Honestly, just I really like that from him. I have y'all. I gave Daniels a free little gimme game, playing some hero ball. So I have y'all going 9-8.
You actually have better expectations for us.
Just a little bit.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm high on Daniels. What can I say?
That's fair. I'm also pretty high on him now at this point. I just don't want to see him RG3 himself onto IR because that's my biggest
That would be
concern
tragic.
so far. He just needs to show me that he can protect himself like a guy like RG3 could not
Yeah,
a decade
and
ago.
I'll be honest with you, he might get popped like within the first 3 games, pretty bad. But he
Oh,
might
I
do
am
exactly what
fully
I
anticipating
was
him
gonna
to
say.
have a signature welcome to the pros moment.
Yeah,
Like
he'll be
he'll
an
be on
iconic
not
moment.
top 10 in a couple weeks for some dumb shit that he'll do, but I just hope he can learn, stay healthy, put
Yep,
some weight on ideally because he is
he
on
is
the
a little
lighter
lean.
side.
Yeah,
But I like what you said with the uncoachable traits because seeing him in the preseason, that pass that he threw to the left sideline, like
yep,
if he doesn't work out for some reason in the pros, that pass will never leave my mind because I saw that pass and went, "This is a guy that translates to the NFL."
exactly. You're like,
So
holy crap, that was a good pass. It was a
yeah,
good pass.
but the way he surveyed the field, showing the versatility with the rushing, I really like what he can do. So I just hope we surround him with players that can bring out the best in him. We give him a better offensive line than we had this last couple of years.
Please,
So that
just
would be lovely
please.
because we barely did anything to improve the offensive line in the offseason. I like Tyler Biotic we brought from Dallas. He'll hopefully be a better center than we have because our center position has been a turnstile. Um, but yeah, other than that, I think 8 and 9, 9 and 8. That's been pretty standard for the Commanders.
Yeah,
Some people have them like bottom of the barrel. I certainly don't see that, but
it's hard to be bottom of
regardless,
the barrel when the Giants are there.
yeah, seriously, the Giants. Oh my god. But anyways, well, we didn't talk about Dan Quinn, the guy on that team that we have, aside from Jaden Daniels, the biggest
In
connection
common,
to.
I was gonna say Dan Quinn is a very interesting character in my opinion because I don't want to say like a lot of his success with the Falcons came from just having a stacked team, but like when you look at
Mm-hmm.
when he was a Falcons coach, we had a pretty good defense. Our offense was beautiful, tear down the eye, like beautiful.
But I wouldn't contribute
Um,
that to Dan, right? I
but I would
contribute that
not.
to
I
Kyle
would yeah,
Shanahan.
to Shanahan, how he ran that offense.
Mm-hmm.
I know Dan was a lot more on the defensive side, but we also had I think it's your new or it was at one point your guys' DC for Georgia. Like I'm blanking on the name totally.
Oh, Dan Lanning?
Uh, no. I think it was one previous one. I think he was. I think he might be who's the Texas coach right now. I'll find him eventually.
D'Amico Ryans?
Oh
The
no.
Texans?
Like
Oh,
Texas.
Sark.
Sark, yes.
Steve
Sark.
Sarkisian.
There we
Yes.
go.
He was more of an offensive guy, but yes.
He was an offensive guy. I
I
think.
believe so, yeah.
Okay,
Hang on,
then
let's
he would
find
have
out.
replaced
Steve
Shanahan. I
Sarkisian.
don't think
Yeah, he replaced
Shanahan,
Shanahan, yeah.
but okay. Then
I believe so.
well, anyway, my point will still stay the same.
Yes.
Once Shanahan left, a lot of holes started showing up, and I do think we could have given Campbell or not Campbell, Quinn one more year. But honestly, I think he's just good as a DC. Like, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets that coaching spot back.
Yeah, I just hope that he can be more disciplined than Ron at this point. People
I
seem to
was
be
gonna
pretty
say,
high on him now. They've kind of done a 180 from what was happening in the offseason,
yeah.
which is interesting to
I
me,
mean,
but we'll see how
I
it
think
pans
it's
out.
just you look at the resume when he was a Cowboy. You look at how good the defense was, and you're like, wow. And I can't really blame him for that, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm still worried about the offense with a developing quarterback.
Yeah, the
Quinn
personnel
went
from
in.
Dallas to Washington is quite different. So
I was gonna say Quinn went in with a veteran Matt Ryan and veteran receivers. So we
yes,
could easily get that
exactly.
going and dominate. But it's a little concerning, just a little. But I still
Exactly.
think he's gonna be fine.
I would expect this team to be good. I don't know if Dan Quinn's going to be the long-term option at head coach. Um, but yeah, so coming in at second in the division, I'm giving it to the Dallas Cowboys, whom we just spoke about. The Cowboys, no matter how many or how little moves they made in the offseason, in their case, they're still going to be a competitive football team, right? At your core, you have Dak unsigned, but he'll play. You have Micah Parsons unsigned, but he will be
He'll
soon.
play.
And you have CeeDee Lamb, who is signed and is
Signed.
one of the best receivers in football. You take away the supplementary talent on offense, right? Michael Gallup's gone. Brandon Cooks, I think, is still there, but he's nothing to write really home about. Tony Pollard's gone, but he did bring in the corpse of Zeke and Dalvin Cook. So I guess there are running backs there that have been good at some point.
What was that? Who's their owner again?
Jerry
he made
Jones?
some funny. Yeah, Jerry Jones. He made some weird comment about like 28 plus 28 is like 58 or some 56 or like some goofy comment the other day. I thought that was just weird, but
yeah, like, Jerry Jones, I think at this point needs to step down because the approach that he is taking with this team has not worked because they've come off, I think it's 3 straight 12-5 seasons, which is impressive. But then you look at their playoff record under those years, and I believe it only includes a single win. So
yeah, that sounds about right.
The way that they are handling this team in the playoffs is very poor. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball and see the talent that's been sapped there. Stephon Gilmore is gone. Dan Quinn, as we mentioned, is gone. But I think it's going to be a pretty lateral move from him to Mike Zimmer at defensive coordinator.
Huge issue.
And then, you have some rotational talent that's gone, like Dorrance Armstrong. You have Leighton Vander Esch is gone. This team, you look at it and it's gotten objectively worse in the offseason, which is why I have docked them a couple wins. But when you've got guys at the core that are going to contribute, like that they have. Oh, is Tyron Smith is also gone. He's been a staple of the offensive line.
I was about to mention the O-line.
Yeah, but, they're still going to be a contender in the regular season, no doubt, depending on what they do in the playoffs. I'm not going to speak on that, but I think they'll make it that far. Yeah, probably. But I think they make it that far.
Actually, on mine, they might be playing the Falcons, so maybe second round out. But
yikes!
No, I need to double check that. But I have them going 11-6, like
okay.
You said. I docked them a loss, but I still think they're going to be up there. I think that's just self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. I think the Cowboys, pretty uncontroversially, are going to make the playoffs. But a team that, unlike the Cowboys, have done everything in their power to be better this year than the last, it's the Eagles. And I have them at an NFC best 13-4. I really hate the fact that I like this Eagles team as much as I do. People look at Jason Kelce retiring, and they're like, this team's cooked. Their team captain is out. It's over. The dude is going to do every single thing he did last year except play in football games. He'll probably be in the building even more right now than he was as a player, right? He's going to be so involved.
The only thing they lose is the ability to run the tush-push as good. Like
they'll probably lose one touchdown this year from doing the tush-push.
They will probably lose like a couple. But Saquon Barkley's in the back. So what they're probably going to end up doing is just do double-double, inside zone right, inside zone left, and let the dude just walk wherever he wants to go because that line is still probably the best line out there. I mean, I know for a fact they're the heaviest, but like absolutely monster on that team. They don't need to have the tush push if they have Saquon and all that mass just moving one direction. They will get the yard.
Yeah. They've still got big names all over the offense. The offensive line, probably the best, if not top 2 in football. Jalen Hurts, who's coming off a disappointing season, I think still has physical tools out the ass. And with a better coordinator, whom he has now, I would expect him to bounce back. Maybe not to the form he was going to the Super Bowl, but there's not a chance in hell that he won't be better than last year, I think. You look at other offensive weapons. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is the best running back that this city has seen since Shady McCoy.
Yep.
And at the receiver position, you got one of the best now in the NFL with A.J. Brown as your number 1, with Devontae Smith as arguably the best second option in football. You have Jahan Dotson as your 3, whom, had his ups and downs in Washington, but is still a third-year guy, first-round pick, that has so much potential still. Dallas Goedert catching passes, right? You have so many weapons. And then that defense is also just studded with talent. You got some amazing pass rushing talent. Fletcher Cox, I think, is still there somehow, putting up numbers. I think he's still there. Is he not? Did he retire?
He just retired, yeah.
Shoot, he did just retire. That's right.
I think that was this year.
Well, the ghost of Fletcher Cox will haunt the offensive line and make Jordan Davis into everything he was and more.
Yeah, I'm
You've
not
got
like.
he's gone. He retired, right?
I'm pretty sure. I was just. Oh, yep, he did.
Okay. Well, R.I.P. Fletcher Cox. I don't know ball. Um,
What the heck, Jack?
I know, seriously. You got Bryce Huff still in there. You just got him from the Jets. He's a younger guy that's really hungry. You've got a secondary that definitely has its holes, but you still have Darius Slay back there.
And James Bradbury got hurt, so y'all are basically winning.
Yeah, exactly. That how the mighty have fallen. He was so good a couple
I was
years
gonna say
ago.
that was
Crazy drop off for that guy.
it was insane watching him. But
Yeah.
then they got guys also like I think Nolan Smith's still on that team.
Nolan Smith is still
I'm
there.
still a
He will
big
pop
fan of
off for
him.
sure now that he
I was
has
saying, I'm
starting
still a big
opportunities.
fan.
They just got Devin White this offseason, I believe.
Yep.
So, he's had his ups and downs for sure playing linebacker, which is interesting. I kind of feel like other positions might fit him more. But if he can get his shit together and make tackles and make reads and be not a liability in coverage, then he has the physical tools to do just that. We've seen it before in Tampa. So I think if that defense projects to be much better than last year with another pretty terrible coordinating staff for it, then it would not shock me if these Eagles return to 2022 form.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I mentioned their record. I had them going 12-5.
Okay.
As well. I think they will choke an important game, which will make them lower in the ranking. We'll see here in a second. But I do think they should be rolling. Like there's nothing not telling me that they shouldn't be rolling and growing this entire division.
Yeah, no doubt. So I've got NFC South up next. Does that sound good?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. Who do you got coming in last in the NFC South?
I don't know about you. It could be a big shocker to you. But I have the Panthers going dead last.
Okay.
Do you want me to just kind of ramble?
Yeah,
here?
tell me why. Tell me why.
Name a single guy on that defense.
Derek Brown.
One. Well, okay.
J.C. Horn.
Stop. It wasn't supposed to be an actual question. But to your point, they got very little. I am not a big fan of that offense either. They're relying on like two rookies in the running back and the receiver position to do really well. They did get Deontay Johnson, but I do think I'm not a biggest fan of him either. I can't remember if they did anything for their O-line that like gratefully impacted.
Yeah, well, they picked up Robert Hunt from the Dolphins, but at the guard spot, I mean, he'll be impactful, but I don't know how many wins that he will contribute to, right?
I don't know if he's out here carrying that line. And then my biggest question mark is once again, literal little Bryce Young.
Booster seat Bryce, yeah.
A booster seat Bryce. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Bama quarterbacks. I don't think that they pan out super good just because they were super good in their system, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, I have them going 3-14. I can't remember if I said that or not, but
I think you're undervaluing them just a touch, but I do agree with you that they are last in their division, actually. So I think the defense definitely has some pieces. They kind of got rated this offseason, like some of their best young pieces. Like I mentioned, Frankie Louvu went to the Commanders. Jeremy Chin went to the Commanders, a guy that I didn't even mention. Shout out to Jeremy Chin. But you've got J.C. Horn if he's going to stay healthy, which he never has. But if he can stay on the field, he's one of the best corners in football. You got Derek Brown, who has been consistently healthy and is one of the best D tackles in football also. But outside of them, the defense is pretty barren. Not a whole lot of contributors on offense. If Bryce Young continues to develop and harness his, his football IQ, which I think is really, really high, I wouldn't. Yeah, pretty much. He is a very accurate quarterback. I have watched some Bryce Young highlights this offseason, and a lot of the poor performance that he had around him this past season, I wouldn't really contribute as much of it to Bryce as I did, because there was a lot of nice balls that he was throwing that his receivers just couldn't come down with. A lot of his pass protection was just collapsing on him. So I wouldn't say Bryce Young is a future star in the making. I don't really have too much confidence in him, but I think that he can eventually, develop into somewhat of a league average quarterback. And I would expect him with some more weapons like Xavier Legette, who is a rookie, but is someone that I liked. Jonathan Brooks, I believe. Is it Jonathan Brooks or is it
I just looked this up. Hold on.
Help me out. I just drafted him in fantasy last night.
I was going to say, I remember you picking him up because I was also going to pick him up if you didn't. Oh, by the way, while we're doing that, I'm really sad that you picked Nick Chubb. That made me really sad.
I knew you wanted
It
him.
is Jonathan
Yeah,
Brooks.
that's what I
Yeah.
thought. It's Jonathan Brooks. Um, I'm a decent fan of him. I think if he can come off of injury, the same player, that he can be a dynamic addition to the backfield. And then I think you kind of slandered Deontay Johnson there. I think that was pretty undeserved. I think he was
He
really
was
solid
catching a
in
little bit of a
Pittsburgh.
stray,
He was
but
very consistent in Pittsburgh. I think that he'll be a good veteran presence to this locker room that includes guys like Adam Thielen's rotting corpse.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, my biggest thing is like most of the time Steelers do a pretty good job at getting rid of their problematic guys before they become like
I just
bad.
think that
But
they
that's
found
also
better
just like
value for
a
him because
I
they
was
wanted
gonna
a guy
say
like George Pickens to
to
flourish. But
actually do things. Yeah.
right, but I digress. I don't want this 5-12 entry to be too positive. Right, there's still
I
a
was say
lot to
it's still an
be scared of. That
atrocious.
defense, that ownership group.
Don't even
I
get me
think Dave
started on David
Canales
Tepper, man.
is a very, very good coach. I think he turned around Geno Smith's entire career. He revitalized Baker Mayfield's career in Tampa this
Yep.
past season. And you bring him to Carolina under a guy like David Tepper. And hopefully, if he can keep his hands out of the way and stop meddling with the system that he and this rotating cast of GMs he keeps firing are trying to build, then this team can eventually become something. But it all starts with David Tepper just like taking like 400 large steps back because he needs to be as far away from football operations as he can get.
I was gonna say, dude needs to put a restraining order on his own team.
Yeah,
Be like, I
no
cannot
kidding.
be in the same room as anybody within this organization if they want to even
Facts.
have a shot at doing
Hand the
anything.
man the check at the end of the year and tell him to just leave the team the fuck alone.
Yeah, exactly.
But with that, I believe we move to number 3. I bet you have the same entry as I do. So you want to talk about the Saints, Ryan?
I do have the Saints.
Yeah.
However, they are tied. They are tied with the Bucks.
Okay,
Um,
interesting.
I think this division is. I don't want to say it's good by any means, but I'm not going to put it past either one of these teams to keep their 8-9. I've met a 9-8 record.
Winning
Um,
record. Wow. Okay.
just squeaking it out, and it's a lot of different reasons. It's because once again, the division itself is pretty mid, so you can get some pretty good wins. Like I had everybody winning at least one and losing one in the division, apart from the Panthers. Both the Bucks and the Saints sweep the Panthers because they did that last year.
Sure.
Not the Falcons though.
That's about
But
right.
I do think those are some free wins. They do play some harder games, but based off the Saints, just what I've been hearing from my friend Ethan,
Mm-hmm.
I think like an 8-9 or 9-8 record is a very plausible thing for the Saints. Uh, their defense will still be like weirdly good, but not like super good. It'll be enough to win the games.
Mm-hmm.
And now all you're really worrying about is can Derek Carr actually win games for you? And I think they can. I think he can. I want to say they also got rid of one of their coordinators that was being really bad on that offense. I
Yeah,
think it
their
was the
offensive coordinator is gone. They got Clint Kubiak from San Francisco.
Yeah. So that could honestly help a lot, especially with Kamara in the backfield. Kind
Mm-hmm.
of CMC like.
I mean,
So
he's
I
got the
do think
tools.
I would say I do think that offense will improve. I think the defense will hold strong, and they'll squeak some games out. They'll after they have a gauntlet. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's like their first 6 games.
They're
If
not
they're
easy,
like
from what I remember.
yeah, they're probably gonna go 3-3 or like 2-4 or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll be able to recover from there. So
Yeah. So I do have the Saints, like I said, but I had them at 6-11 actually.
also reasonable. I'm not
I
gonna say
do not like this Saints team very much. I think that they kind of project similar to the Panthers in the sense that there's contributors, there's big names on many aspects of the team, but all in all, there's a lot of gray area. And I would say in general, Marshawn Lattimore, Demario Davis.
I would not worry about Demario Davis though, if I'm being real with you.
Why do you say that? He's one of the best linebackers in football.
Yeah, I think he's gonna stay that way. Like I thought you were saying you were concerned about him.
No.
Oh, okay. No,
I'm saying that these are names that are like
good names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you still got Marshawn Lattimore. You still got Demario Davis. There's another linebacker in there whom I'm blanking on. Say again?
Turner Matthew. They still got him.
Oh, is Honey Badger still there?
I believe so, yeah.
There you go. Off the edge, they just signed Chase Young. So if he can be, not terrible, then that could be a good pickup. But, I mean, other than that, there's a lot of gray area in that defense. The pass rush in general seems pretty lackluster because Cam Jordan is still there, but a big name he is, but a top-tier pass rusher he is not anymore. But the biggest red flag for me with this team is the offensive line. It's terrible. It's so bad.
And they lost Ramczyk,
they lost Ryan Ramczyk for the season. Help me out. Who's that tackle that sucks?
Penning?
Trevor Penning. The Trevor Penning experiment will probably still see some time. He is atrocious.
Looking at the roster right now, he's at right tackle.
Yeah, he still projects to start. And I think if you're looking at left tackle right now, the one shining piece to this offensive line could end up being their first-round pick this season, Talise Fuaga, who we both had rated pretty highly. And I think that he could definitely be something, but he is going to get pummeled in his first season because they're going to send everybody at him that they can.
I was going to say, definitely getting beat up there. I do want to mention the defense, specifically the secondary, because I was just having a convo with Ethan the other day. So Paulson Adebo was a guy who supposedly, according to Ethan, so I'm not going to confirm or deny this, but he was the second-ranked, best corner in the league behind, help me out, who was the guy on the corner? Who's the corner for the Chiefs?
For the Chiefs? Snead or McDuffie?
Snead.
Yeah.
There we go. Behind him, I think he was second for interceptions and either first or second for deflections.
Yeah, Paulson Adebo is a good pull. He is a name that I know, Kool-Aid, but not too much about. Is and that is true. I did actually just see something this morning about Kool-Aid. I kind of forgot that they picked him up, but he does project to be good, which is why the secondary isn't something that I'm super concerned about.
I think the defense will definitely hold steady. They might regress a little bit, but to your point, that line is atrocious, and I'm also worried about Derek Carr.
Oh, I didn't even talk about Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is – I call him Derek Garbage time because he is the biggest stat patter in football. That man will throw 2 picks and 130 yards in the first 3 quarters. And then while his team is down 5 touchdowns, he will toss – 3 of them in the fourth quarter, just so you can kind of look at his box score and be like, oh, okay, tough loss for the Saints, but Derek had a solid game. No, he did not.
Being mid for 3 quarters and then locking in for the fourth just to barely lose the game, I honestly don't know because he did that as a Raider too. That was one of the.
Oh, he did that in the second, the second half of his Raiders stint for sure. So
I definitely agree with that. Offense is scary, not in a good way.
Yeah, shout out Chris Olave though because he is good, but the rest of the receivers are a little wishy-washy.
Rashid Shaheed is short.
He exists. Guy. Yeah, shout out Rashid Shaheed. Second in the division, take it away, Ryan.
So I have the Bucks. They are also going 9-8 because they have the head-to-head against the Saints, and I think there's probably some other thing that I'm missing there, but they'll somehow be the head. I don't really have a whole lot to say other than I think Baker's gonna do fine. Their offense is still gonna be pretty damn good. I do think they did lose some people on defense, but they retained at least the younger guys, if I remember correctly. Right?
Yeah, so I would agree with that. You lose Carlton Davis and I believe it was Sean Murphy Bunting.
Yep.
Can you hear when I speak the blaring horn in the?
No.
I think someone's car is getting broken into. I'm not gonna lie.
Sick.
But if you can't hear it, that's all. That's awesome. You lose those 2 guys in the secondary, so that is pretty tough for your secondary. Definitely, that's the most talent sapped of the offseason. But you've still got Levante David, in the middle. You've still got solid pass rush options all around, especially with burgeoning stars like Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who I think is one of the best. You got third round, I believe it was a 3rd round pick, a guy that I really liked, actually, one of my guys a couple years ago, Also, one of the best names in football, Yaya Diaby, who also was
Yaya
he was
Diaby.
a big contributor
Hell
this
of a
past
name.
season. Hell of a name, that guy. And then the offense is going to be just as consistent as ever, right?
I was gonna say I'm not too worried. They have Evans, they have Godwin.
Yeah, you
Talk
got
about
Mike
Mr.
Evans.
Consistency. So I was just
Right,
saying,
he's
got
aiming
Mike
for his
Evans.
11th straight like 10,000 yard season, I believe. Chris Godwin is aiming for 11 games to be played. I think that's probably his yearly
Probably,
goal.
probably. I mean,
Baker is solid. Rashad White is getting better and better as he continues his young career, and the offensive line is still anchored by Tristan Wirfs. So really,
yeah,
that's
really
fair. I
fun.
also have them at 9-8, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, mention Mike Evans, just low key stat pattern. I have really no
Oh,
evidence
you
to
have
support
like
it.
all time beef with that dude.
But yeah, generational beef. Like my
Yeah,
kids will have beef with this guy. Him, and then I don't know also why Keenan Allen, another Mr. Consistency guy. I just have mad beef with both of them.
we hate Keenan Allen
I'll
together,
say at least
but
that's together.
I don't hate Mike Evans.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say he's not bad, but I do think he's somehow a stat pattern. That's all I can really say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, but he also has the one egregious drop every year, which is just funny.
That's
It
true.
puts a smile
He
on my
is good
face.
for an all time low light every year, which is funny.
Every year, it's like, oh, it's like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
But moving on
Yeah,
to
Ryan, tell me
the
why the Falcons
number
win the division.
one divisional.
Tell me why
Okay,
your Falcons win the division.
my Atlanta Falcons, best one in the NFC South, best one in the NFC. No, but that part's they're fourth. I'm semi reasonable here.
Okay, so they are the worst division winner.
Yes, I have them at a record of 11-6 with a floor being 9-8. I think somewhere around that like little area is pretty reasonable, and they'll
That's
still
fair.
win the division even if they go 9-8.
That's fair.
Um, what to talk about specifically?
It's a totally overhauled team, like
was
from
to say,
top to bottom. It seems like an
Literally
entirely new roster.
rebuilt from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I'll start with Kirk Cousins. I do think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I will die defending him now since he's a Falcon. Previously, not so much. I think we have a very good running back duo. B-Rob is obviously an insanely good running back. I'm looking forward to seeing him more in use, which is something that I think Morris definitely mentioned. Tyler Algier might be one of the better third down backs for like backups.
Definitely.
I love the power that he has. Love all that stuff.
I mean, he is a 1,000 yard rusher already. So
Exactly. Our receivers, I would say, are a little concerning. They kind of remind me of how like the Packers are. It's like, do they have a standout number one guy?
I would say potentially
Personally,
yes.
I would say yes. But you could also argue that like Drake London is not a number one guy. I think Drake London is a good number one guy. Very big contested catch guy. I forget the stat, but I think he's like top 3 for contested catches in like the past 2 years or something like that since he's been drafted, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that's insane. I'm a big fan of. I mean, I'm not a big fan, but I do like the Darnell Mooney. I think he's cool. Unfortunately, Rondale Moore got hurt.
That is a tough loss.
But we do have Ray McLeod, who I really like, mainly because of the name, but I do really like him.
Another all-time name, yeah.
Exactly. And one thing about him is he's actually a pretty good kick and punt returner, if I remember correctly. So I'm hoping to see him
very good returner
on that as well. And then that O-line, phenomenal. Not a lot of questions for concern. Our left guards, I think, is the youngest guy, but he still showed that he was good. Lindstrom, Matthews, and McGarry are all good, solid dudes. Dahlman's our center. He's solid. Now we're going to talk about the one guy that I haven't mentioned yet. Kyle Pitts is in a very interesting spot.
Yes, definitely.
I think he's very underrated at the moment because he literally has no proof. It's like, okay, you had the 1,000-yard season. It's been 3. So I'm hoping Kirk Cousins give that man a ball because the dude, I'm not gonna give up on him just yet. He has at least 2 more years before I'm like, okay, we messed up. And then talk about the defense, complete overhaul, like complete.
Yeah, No kidding.
I mean, we basically left Jarrett, AJ Terrell, and Bates was a new one last year, but those are like the last two guys who stayed. Animata's still on the line. We didn't really lose anyone heavy. We got, I think it was Caden Ellis from the Saints,
Mm-hmm.
who's a pretty slept on pass rusher, but he's also he's a good blitz guy. He's a good pass guy, a solid linebacker. Um, Obviously, Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates now have the best safety duo
Oh yeah, no
of
doubt.
been a while. You know,
Micah
I'm not
Parsons
gonna
and Jordan Poyer have been toppled in Buffalo, so the
Micah
door is
Parsons.
wide open. What did I say?
You said Micah Parsons and
Micah
Jordan
Hyde.
Poyer.
Excuse
There
me.
you go.
Micah Parsons, everyone's favorite Buffalo
Honestly,
Bill.
he probably could play safety if we're being
Probably.
real here. But yeah, like those two are probably the best safeties. I don't want to say since the Legion of Boom, but like they should be pretty damn good.
They should be, yeah. Nothing is like telling me that Justin Simmons is going to be anything different than he was last year. It's insane that it took so long to get him on a roster.
The biggest concern for me is the lack of corner depth. I like AJ Terrell. I do think we overpaid him a little bit, but then we have I forget where Alford plays, D. Alford and Mike Hughes. I think one of them's on the other side, obviously. I think one of them's slot. I'm a little concerned about those two getting more starts because usually when a big play happened, it was on one of those two.
Yep.
So not to throw shade at them, but like it was usually one of those two.
Man, a first-round draft pick would be really nice to use in a top corner right about this year.
Yeah, and then
seems like you've neglected to talk about somebody.
The elephant in the room, Penix. I do like Penix. I do think it was a fair pick, just not for the Falcons. If someone else did it, I'd have been like, peace. Since we also didn't lose any first round, like for the Kirk Cousins tampering, definitely. Like I think that was kind of bad. We did lose Trice, our guy from Washington.
That is tough. Losing Braylon Trice for the year is really tough.
However, we somehow got Matthew Judon for like a third-round pick or something. I'm happy for that. I think he's one of those guys that ages pretty well.
Yes.
Not gonna say
Matthew Judon,
well as, like,
I think, is the most important acquisition of the offseason, including Kirk Cousins, because I would say the biggest hole on this roster was the pass rush, and it still is a little iffy because only one player doesn't solve everything. But Matt Judon is still a very, very productive pass rusher that was got Defensive Player of the Year votes a couple of seasons ago.
Yep. I think we're gonna. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna run a lot 3-4, which means that we're gonna have either a Matthew Judon, Troy Anderson can blitz a little bit, and Caden Ellis in the inside could blitz. Honestly, all of our linebackers are a lot more run than I'd like for them. Like they can cover run, but I'm a little worried about the pass coverage.
Yeah, I would be.
And then we didn't even mention Animata or Rukaroro, who I am sad that we didn't get Johnny Newton. But Buddy's a pretty solid run block based off what I saw.
Who called that pick? Was that Roddy White?
I think so.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of optimism for them. I can't wait to be clearly disproven after week 3.
Yeah, probably. It wouldn't shock me.
I'm gonna hope.
Yeah, I do agree with you. They win the division for sure. I got them at 10-7.
I think that's pretty fair. Yeah.
I think this division will pretty tight, but in the mid department.
Yeah.
You pretty much hit every face that I wanted to. The offense is now multifaceted with big names at every skill position. The offensive line is still solid. The defense has some holes, but they've done a lot of improvements to it this offseason. I mean, it's a recipe for a team that Kirk Cousins can slide right into and take him to a first-round loss. It's just perfect.
Maybe second.
Kirk Cousins has one career playoff win. I just wanted to remind you of that. One.
Yeah.
So anyways, maybe this can be the year that he doubles up, but
doubles his entire career playoff wins. It's gonna happen.
But until he
Um,
does, we can talk about the NFC North, which I think
yeah,
is probably the most fun division in football right now.
I definitely think so. I don't know about you. There's definitely two teams that stand out a lot more than the other two. So
I think that's fair to say, but yeah.
bottom of the division, do you have the Vikings by chance?
I do have the Vikings.
All
How'd
right,
you
you want to
know?
take that away?
Yeah, the Vikings for me are a really interesting case because they have a ton to like. Starting from the top, Kevin O'Connell is one of the most underrated head coaches in football.
Yeah,
He's a brilliant offensive mind that took a guy like Kirk Cousins, speaking of, to the playoffs year after year. Um, I really, really like him. And I thought with J.J. McCarthy sliding in, they projected to once again be a very solid team with weapons galore. But JJ is out for the season, so it is Sam Darnold's season in mini, and I think that he will probably make the most of his situation. Wouldn't shock me if they turn him into even like a 9-win quarterback. But as it stands right now, I've got the Vikings going 5-12 because I just don't think Sam Darnold is really gonna be ending up that guy. I think you're already dealing with some crazy injuries, some bad juju happening over there with the unfortunate death of Kyrie Jackson.
yeah,
Jordan Addison is going to be out for an undefined amount of time at this point. While Justin Jefferson did just get paid, that's a ton of money that you're spending on a wide receiver, and typically team building like that is unsuccessful for the most part. Um, I would say that not that he's not worth all that money. I would just say it's really tough to build around one wide receiver as opposed to one of like an edge rusher or
quarterback.
corner or
Yeah,
offensive tackle. You get the picture. I would say that the running back room is interesting. If Aaron Jones can stay healthy, that's some potential there. The offensive line in general is kind of wishy-washy. I would say Christian Darrisaw is worth the money he got paid for sure, but he needs some more accolades for people to really realize that he's kind of lacking on the in that department. And then the defense definitely has some big names. I like that they picked up Jonathan Grenard this offseason, handed him a bag among some other guys, but overall, I think that the corner room definitely needs some help. A guy like Byron Murphy, like a big acquisition this past offseason that I thought was going to be like a really big name for
a
them,
really
ended
good.
up
Yeah,
being mostly a bust. He didn't really pan out. So on the whole, I don't love the defense, but Flores typically manages to get the most out of the guys you haven't really heard too much about. So
yeah, and I was gonna say they're definitely giving Flores a run for his money here.
yeah,
My biggest concern is obviously the guy who sees ghosts on the field.
yeah,
I am not a
mono
fan
man.
of Sam Darnold. Sneak peek, I was just looking. He is currently the worst quarterback starting in my list. If you look at the TikTok he made,
Oh yeah, if you want to check out our TikTok outside of rookies, who if we were
he
actually
is,
ranking rookies based on
yeah,
preseason, would all be higher than Sam Darnold. He
probably.
was the consensus worst starter in the league for
Yeah,
us.
I have them. I'm still worried about that defense. I do think they have weapons galore, but I don't really think you're gonna really do anything with Sam Darnold in the backfield.
No.
So I have them going to a nice 4-13.
Okay, I think
Just
that's
one, yeah,
fair.
I'd say just one loss more.
I think they're too good of a system and they have too good of weapons to have them less than 5-12. I really wouldn't be shocked if they get up to almost 7-8 wins territory.
They could, yeah, but
But
I have
yeah,
very little confidence.
playing in such a tough
They'll
division as
figure it
well
out.
is not helpful.
I would say, especially when you get beat up by the Lions, Packers, and who I'm going to talk about next, the Bears.
I also have the Chicago Bears finishing third in the division, the second team we're talking about. Regrettably, though, because I think there's a lot to like in the Windy City. We both have Caleb as a guy who is going to rocket up the list of starters in just a couple of weeks. We both believe in the guy. He's the closest thing I've ever seen in Mahomes, and I feel like comparisons to that guy get thrown around like candy on Halloween. And I really believe that this guy has the most Mahomey tools out of anyone else in the league.
I mean,
I
we all
am
saw the
massive
shovel
fan.
pass
Oh, the
in the
no look shovel.
preseason. Yeah, okay, like
Look, the
those
little
are the
Mahomey.
things I would say. Those are the things that I like looking for. Not really coaching that or anything, just like I can do this. The
Mm-hmm.
confidence of being able to just lob a ball, not looking, just that's definitely a good sign to see with that big brain. I don't know about you. I have the Bears going like 6-11. and I think that's heartbreaking for
Ooh.
them. I,
I
I, I,
think that that's a little low.
I think it's a low, but I also don't. I lack a lot of confidence in other places. I don't think the defense is anything super special. They do have a few guys. I'm not the. Did they get rid of any coaches before I say I'm not a big fan of their coaching?
The Bears have picked up a new offensive coordinator.
Okay,
They
well,
got somebody from the
something.
Raiders, I think,
I was gonna say. Well,
or maybe the Raiders got Luke Getzey. I don't remember. Hang on,
I was gonna say.
I actually am curious now. Who did
Well, you
they
do
get?
that. I mean, well, I am confident in the offense, and also while
Shane
you're
Waldron.
just
I
there,
was
you
thinking about him. Okay.
go. They didn't do a whole lot for their defense either, or for their linemen. Sorry, linemen. Or am I wrong there?
So Chicago
remember.
is interesting because if they are a good team, I think it will be very much on the back of the offense. Caleb is a guy that can definitely carry a team into the playoffs, but I think that defense is looking a little rougher around the edges. They do have a guy like Montez Sweat, who is a burgeoning star, one of the best
There
pass
you go.
rushers right now in the game, but he doesn't have a whole lot beside him to work with. He's got like a couple rooks, a couple young guys. But mostly everything is in the secondary, right? You just paid your star corner. You've got a couple of nice safeties, and overall, it's young and improving, but there's still some holes to be filled. Pause. And I think that the offense with just so many big names, right? People are calling this the best wide receiver trio in football. It's DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and rookie Rome Odunze. And I think while we can't say that yet, if we look at Odunze in a couple weeks and he's filling the stat sheet, then it would not shock me if these Bears can make a run to the playoffs. But as of now, I will put them at 8-9, the same record I gave my Commanders, which I think is fair for both the 1 and 2 picks at quarterback. But yeah, that being said, it would not shock me if these Bears can win 11 games. Honestly, it really would not.
11 games?
Yeah, it would not shock me if
11.
these Bears could win the division. But I'll be tentative for now.
I think I was gonna say as much as I want to say that Williams is going to do good, it feels like unless he walks on water, he's not going to do that. And even then, if he walks on water, people are going to be like, "Why didn't he swim?" So
that's so true. What a good bar. Wow.
What's funny is they said the same thing about Kirk Cousins. That's why I did it.
Yeah.
But no, like I'm not. Like I said, I do think Caleb's going to do insane, but that there's usually a big adjustment zone for for the college to the NFL levels, and I'm confident that he can win college games and bring people to the playoffs. But I think the Bears are also just kind of one of those franchises where it's like they may have a lot going for them, but something's going to go wrong. Like they're like kind of cursed, which is why I have them going 6-11. And I do think their offense is going to be carrying them pretty hard through those 6 wins. And then people are going to be like, Caleb Williams already a bust, and it's like, no, give him another year. I'll say he has a winning record. I guarantee you. If they hit the 6-11, I'd be like, they could easily win 10 games the year after, assuming they do stuff. But also beef with Keenan Allen. I think he's choking out Odunze's development a little bit there.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be a concern. I don't even really like Keenan Allen that much. I just think as a number 2 guy, he'll
be fine as a number 2 guy.
He'll be fine.
But
that being said, this is the debate. This is the real debate in the NFC, I feel like, because it's about split down the middle for me of people that like the Lions, of people that like the Packers. But coming in second for me is the Packers. I think they go 10-7, and I think they have just too little like defined alpha talent on both sides of the ball to dethrone the Lions, though I think that they will give them the more of a run for their money than a lot of people are saying. I have them going 10-7. I think I already said that, but Jordan Love is like a sleeper MVP for a lot of people. They're giving him a ton of MVP hype right now. He has a pretty solid quartet of receivers to throw to, right? You've got Jaden Reed, you've got Dontavion Wicks, you've got Christian Watson if he can stay on the field, and you've got Romeo Doubs, all 4 of whom are like relevant fantasy receivers, which is kind of insane. It's been a while since we've seen something like that. But it really just it's who is going to come out on top in this wide receiver room, who's going to establish themselves as the main target, right? You've got Luke Musgrave at tight end coming back from injury. It seems like they've always got younger or versatile tight ends being incorporated. You just picked up Josh Jacobs this offseason, who I've gotten higher on as of late because I didn't really have him too high in the RB rankings. I attributed a lot of the season he had just a couple years ago to his offensive line and scheming and attempt merchants type play. But I think definitely in a potent offense like the one he's going to play in, it will play off of his strengths much more than when he was playing with guys such as Derek Carr and Aiden O'Connell and Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So with that being said, the defense also is very solid. You've got a lot of improving pieces.
Too.
Very, very, very young. You still have one of the best corners in the league in Jair Alexander. You still have a lot of pass rushing threat across the board with guys like Kenny Clark. Guys like, hang on, who am I forgetting? There's a big name whose name I'm
in the middle,
blanking on. Yeah.
Georgia guy, right?
R, maybe. There's an R in there.
Keep talking.
There's an R in there. The letter R. I love the letter R. Help me out.
Letter R.
Maybe.
Rashawn
Gary. Thank you. Knew it started with R.
They also have Quay Walker.
Walker, who is the Georgia guy, who kind of pisses me off. He needs to stop drawing flags. But regardless, there definitely is. And Eric Stokes, another Georgia guy back there in the secondary who people kind of aren't putting too much hype into. I think he's pretty solid. But with all that being said, I do think that they lack just a little bit of that alpha talent and that crazy skill position talent that Detroit does have. Before I get into them, what are your thoughts on Green Bay?
Like I said, I have them going. You said 10-7?
10-7.
Okay, I have them sneaking 2 more dubs out through just sheer willpower.
Wow.
12-5.
A 12-5 non-division winner.
Yeah, definitely a little goofy there, but I do think that the receiving core is very, I don't want to say slept on because I feel like a lot of people understand what's going on in that receiving core, but like they are all can easily fight for that number 1 receiving spot, which some would argue that's like a weakness. But I'm like, hey, if they can all good enough to fight for that wide receiver spot, like the number 1 target spot, like it's like they're all pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So I think they have a very balanced like team when it also comes to receivers, just because they all are also different like heights. They're not just like all tall dudes who run 4 verts. I think there's a lot of diversity there, unless I'm dead wrong, but I'm pretty sure there is.
No, you're not wrong. Yeah, I would agree with that.
And then I'm a big fan of the defense. I think they have a very solid young core. Obviously, Alexander's one of the better corners in the league. Then Jordan Love is a guy who he's in a very interesting spot. I don't know about you. Like I said, I'm a big fan of him. You're a big fan of him.
You more so than I. You are an even bigger fan of Jordan Love.
I'm a bigger fan of him. But I mean, it goes back to how much can he do? And if he does like the same thing they did this year, where it's like okay, he was drunk for the first half of the season, and then he actually started doing good, I'm gonna be a little less high on this team. But I haven't seen that, and I'm assuming he's gonna pick up right where he left off. And then side note, that running back core is actually not terrible. I've been a big fan of A.J. Dillon, but I know he's on IR right now, so that's a big sad. But Josh Jacobs is a guy who, even if I'm not a huge fan of him, I do know he's good. He has good talent, and they should be able to do pretty solid behind that line.
One thing that I did not mention is the offensive line is a bit shaky. You just drafted Jordan Morgan in the first round. You just lost David Bakhtiari.
Yep.
And I believe there was another starting lineman that just went to the Giants this offseason whose name I'm blanking on. But with that being said, it's still okay. You've still got some younger pieces. And Jordan Love performed pretty solidly around it. That a line that kind of looks similar to this year's form because Bakhtiari was barely on the field anyways. But I would say that that's probably my biggest point of concern for this team as a whole. I would want that line to develop a little bit more, to be more solid, for some more bigger names to pop into the mix. If Morgan, your first-round pick, can develop into that guy, then I feel even more confident about the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, not the biggest issue, but they don't really have good tight end depth. But I mean, you can kind of.
They'll find somebody. They always do.
I was say they'll find
Like,
somebody.
who was Robert Tonyan before that guy
That is
emerged?
honestly
Remember
true.
that guy?
Dude went from nothing to being like an absolute fantasy leader for me to being
Yeah.
back to mid.
And now he's like the
Um,
fourth tight end of the Bears.
yeah,
Anyways.
exactly. But yeah, I think that team is good. However, they do fall second mainly because they cannot compare to the Detroit Lions, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is wild that we were saying that they're winning the division. You know,
Seriously, yeah.
like
Like
that.
my roommate Connor,
Yep.
he was on the show, he was on the pod. He was talking about the Lions, and I think it was the most intelligent like 5 minutes of conversation that this show has ever seen because that man is like a walking encyclopedia. So if you're listening to this, Connor, shout out. I'm not going to tell
I'll
him
say shout
that I
out
put the
Connor.
shout out in the podcast
I would
because I
say you
hope
gotta
he'll listen
test
to
him.
it.
You gotta test him.
Yeah.
Did the same thing for Ethan.
Exactly. So I think that he is probably pinching himself like every day waking up like, do we still have the best group of skill position and offensive line combined talent in the league? Do we still have like a young defense that's developing with homegrown stars like Aiden Hutchinson? He probably doesn't even believe it. But it is what is happening. You've got Jared Goff, a quarterback that has taken an organization to a Super Bowl already. You have one of the better wide receiver cores in the league with Amon-Ra St. Brown, a developing stud who played through
Certified.
like a torn, like what was it last year that
Was
he was
it
torn?
like
Like
a pec? No, it was.
it was in his knee, I thought.
Oh, it was a knee. I thought it was like an upper body.
Was it like a labrum? Was it his
Hold
labrum?
on.
Look
Well,
that
you keep
up.
talking. I'll look it
He
up.
it was a torn muscle that he played through since like week 4 or like week 6. You've got a first round pick in Jamison Williams, who people are praying this is finally his year, and if it is, oh my God, he could be one of the best deep threats in football. You've got Sam Laporta, obviously, who developed into one of the best tight ends in football after just his rookie season. You have what is, in my opinion, the best offensive line in football with star tackle Penei Sewell, who people are saying is better than Trent Williams right now. I don't know if I'm ready to enter that debate, but damn, is he really good.
I was gonna say I might be able to get that to you next time.
Yeah, the best two-headed monster at running back in the league with David Montgomery, a bruising power back that can pick up top speeds, and Jahmyr Gibbs, a guy that I think honestly goes neck and neck with Bijan Robinson right now in terms of who is better as a core player.
I would
And then
say
moving
neck
on
and
to the
neck. Yeah.
defense. Yeah, you think they're neck and neck?
Oh, by the way, it was oblique. So like
A
pec.
torn oblique.
He
Thank you.
ripped that off the bone.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And still
That's
played
crazy.
through it. And he still put up numbers.
Yeah, he's still got, like
Yeah.
career highs and all. He
Career
hit all of his
highs.
goals before the season, and
Honestly.
he was practicing against a really improving defense, right? And you just improved in the offseason. They really targeted the defensive back room. They traded for
Yep.
Carlton Davis from Tampa Bay, a guy who was just a couple seasons ago like Pro Bowl level. You just drafted. Help me out.
Did they
You
get
just
Mitchell?
drafted Terry and Arnold in the first round,
Yeah, there you
and
go.
you drafted Ennis Rakestraw in the second round. 2 first-round caliber cornerbacks who you got at the top of the draft for really, really good prices. You've got obviously
They still
edge
have-
rushers out that are like really, really developing. Aiden Hutchinson obviously is fantastic, and then a couple more names in there who I'm blanking on at the moment, but I know there's one guy specifically who's like geared for a breakout season.
I
whose
mean,
name
you have
forget.
like in the inside, you have Jack Campbell and Alex. Is it?
Oh no! Yeah, it's Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone in the linebacking core, who are also fantastic. So,
and then you still got Brian Branch, who was a guy who was really good.
I didn't even mention Brian Branch. Yeah, a standout rookie.
Who was the guy last year who they called him dirty, like a dirty player? Like he blew up like 2 different tight ends' knees.
It might have been
like
Anzalone.
Higbee and the other guy.
It might have been Anzalone.
Honestly, it probably was.
I do not recall actually.
But like,
That
honestly, maybe a dirty player, but he does know how to lay a boom on somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean there is so much talent, so much young talent here, and I know you talked a little bit about Goff. Honestly, he's playing a lot. I don't really want to call it like naive than when he was on the Rams, but he definitely feels like he's taken a step from that Rams team. You know, so, like maybe not when they went to Super Bowl Rams.
He's no longer exclusively relying on play calling.
Yeah.
He is doing the job that he is tasked with, but is also more than capable of stepping up as his own playmaker when needed to, which is the Jared Goff that can lead this team to a Super Bowl. That said,
I agree.
All of this to say, I only have them at 11 wins. I only have them at 11-6, because these Lions are good for a couple of shocking losses, I would say. They're a younger team, they're prone to mistakes. Dan Campbell, while he is a fantastic coach, is still learning, a younger coach.
Yep.
He's going to have some gaffes, but he's going to take responsibility for him, and he's going to make damn sure the team learns from those mistakes, which is why in the playoffs, they could go a lot further than their 11 wins could suggest.
Yeah, I currently have them at a cool 13-4. They just narrowly out-dropped the Pack. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost to the Packers. I forget who else they play, but I think there's a loss to the Niners somewhere there.
Sure.
They probably lost to the Falcons, if we're being honest, because we're just that good.
The Falcons are just goated like that.
They were just goated. But, yeah, I mean, there is so much you can say about this team, and it's almost all positive. Like, I don't know. You could say that their kickers are kind of, like, mid.
I guess, but
Sure,
I'm not putting too much stock into the kickers, right?
Like, unless they hit them with some double doinks, then I'm not going to be like, ah.
That's the other in-division team.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bears are cursed.
We will finish with the West, right?
Finish with the NFC West. This one is, I think, the most interesting division coming from last year to this year because there is a lot of moving parts, a lot of injuries people are recovering from, a lot of drama this offseason especially. But to kick it off, last in the division, I actually had the Seattle Seahawks.
I also have the Seattle Seahawks.
Did not think that I would hear that from you. What do you have them going?
I have them going 7-10. You know, not
Same
terrible
here.
but
wow,
there's a lot of good, but there's just as much bad, in my opinion. I mean, they got the new head coach, which means you're kind of in like a growing pain era. You know, it's not often that a coach immediately goes in and then immediately starts winning.
He's a very young, defensive-minded coach.
Very young, defensive-minded coach. And their defense has a lot of bright spots, but there's also some pretty glaring issues, if I remember correctly. Like, that front seven is still a little...
The pass rush definitely needs some help. You've got a couple names in there like Boye Mafe. You've got a guy in there like Leonard Williams, who is still there putting up some numbers.
They just got the guy from Texas. Who's that fella? Tackle.
Oh my God.
Well,
I know his
blank
name
on this because we know.
I know his name. Who is this guy?
I have it, but I don't want to tell it yet.
Tavondre Campbell? Tavondre Sweat?
We're dumb. It's Byron Murphy.
Oh, I thought you were talking about somebody in the other round. Yeah. They drafted Murphy in the first round. I don't know why I wasn't thinking about the guy in the first round. I would have known that.
Oh, you're thinking of the other guy. Yeah.
The other guy.
But, like, I mean, they have a decent DB core. I think they have some good heavy hitters like Devon Witherspoon.
Yes, Devon Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen are still back there. Woolen had a bit of a objective regression from his rookie season, but I mean that's what happens when you're playing against a guy like Witherspoon for sure. They're going to send the best at you, not Witherspoon. But that being said, the defense definitely has its fair share of holes, and I would say the offense has been inconsistent. Very questionable. The offensive line, in my opinion, is pretty bad.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I would say Geno probably ends up getting replaced by Sam Howell by the end of the year. And, I like DK Metcalf. I don't love DK Metcalf.
Their receiving core is so weird because it looks so good on paper.
Yeah.
But then, when you look at the stats last year, like, Tyler Lockett was still, like, their number one guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's older. He's older. I mean, it's interesting to see because it's like DK. I think he's a good receiver. Jackson. I think he's a good dude. And it's like Tyler Lockett. I know he's a stud. I've time and time again. But it's just like there also seems like some weird lackluster there.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I literally feel the exact same way. That receiver core. It's super weird. But in the running back room, you do have K9. You do have Zach Charbonnet, both of whom are very serviceable. So I would assume that they lean on the run game. But I just think there's too many holes in this roster,
Yeah, definitely too much holes. Definitely a lot of growing pains for coaching. And it's always weird having a super young head coach but a super old quarterback. That's like another weird, thing I'm not a huge fan of. Because I'm pretty sure Geno is probably older than the coach now.
I honestly wouldn't doubt it. Sure. I think it's pretty close. They're pretty close right now.
It's either pretty close or he is. But, I feel like those are just some weird dynamics that they're going to have to figure out. And I think they will, to your point, move off Geno after this year.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
would expect
7
them
and
to do
10, I
that.
think, is reasonable.
Yeah.
Now, just why do you have the Rams in the third spot?
So I don't. Shocker. But I
Man.
think, did you really buy into the hype of my hot take earlier this offseason? I think I said my hot take is that the Cardinals make the playoffs.
I don't have them winning the playoffs, but I do have them doing better than the Rams.
That is a shock to me. But I don't have the Cardinals actually making the playoffs because I looked at it and there's too much talent in the NFC outside of the Cardinals
Exactly.
for them to make the playoffs. But I do have them at 8-9, barely missing out on a winning record at third in the division. I would say that the Cardinals are a very one-sided team. The offense is going to be spectacular, and I think the defense is going to be very, very bad. There's no big names on that defense, like, at all. There's like a good corner in the back in there somewhere whose name I'm blanking on right now. I know that like that corner on the Cardinals is like, if you don't know this guy, you don't know ball, and I forget his fucking name, so it looks like I don't know ball.
Buda Baker?
No, he's
like
the safety, but there's a corner.
corner.
Yeah, there's an actual corner.
Here,
Buda is still there,
talking.
balling out. Shout out to Buda Baker, but help me out. What's his name?
Murphy Bunting. Sean Murphy.
No, but he is also there. He's the guy that I was talking about with the Buccaneers.
Let's see. Who else is at corner there? Max Melton?
Yes, I think it's literally Max Melton. Wait, hang on.
Maybe.
Let me look it up.
This dude only has 4 tackles when I looked it up.
Let me look.
Garrett Williams? That's the only other guy that I can really think of.
I guess it is Max Melton. Maybe Jalen Thompson? Shit.
But that's a safety.
Yeah.
You're saying, well, this is very awkward. I'm not gonna lie. But,
there was somebody.
I would say
is Max Melton the rookie?
Let me. Well,
yeah, he's a rookie.
I would say he's a rookie.
He's a rookie. He was out of Rutgers.
It might be Williams, because this dude at least recorded an interception.
Anyways, guys, it's confirmed we don't know ball, but
definitely not about the Cardinals.
I do know that the Cardinals are going 8-9 because Kyler and Marvin Harrison is all they need. Marvin Harrison is going to go break the rookie receiving record, break the rookie receptions record. He's going to shatter the record books for anything rookie receiving related.
Sorry, Puka.
Yeah, sorry, Puka. Seriously, you get one season. Sorry about that, buddy.
I was going to say. No, I agree. And honestly, I'm a little higher on them because I have them going 9-8, not 8-9.
Okay.
I like, to your point, I do think that they have a very interesting defense, to say the least. I mean, they have good safeties. They have Kaiser White, who's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that offense is going to be, going to be the reason they win games, especially with the legendary Greg Dortch.
Oh my God.
Fantasy legend.
Dude, fantasy football legend Greg Dortch. I will never forget you.
Any day I'm sad, I think of Greg Dortch.
Same.
But yeah, no, they have definitely a solid, offense to win games. And I do think they can win a little bit more, especially since I'm not as high as the Rams as other people are. Because we didn't even mention it, but I have the Rams going 8-9, being third in the division.
Yeah, tell me
so
why.
I guess I'll say that, then you'll probably hit me with the why I clearly disagree because I forgot some random dude. It's gonna happen, but
it will.
I do think their line is a little concerned. I'm a little concerned. They're currently, I'm looking it up right now. Their left tackle is apparently suspended, so that's always fun.
The Rams left tackle?
Yeah, Adric Jackson.
Who is that guy?
Jackson.
Okay, I gotta drop them 5 wins. Hang on.
I was say, oh no. They do still have they got Tre'Davious White, so that's definitely a name. Mm-hmm. They have Jared Verse, who's a guy I like. Sorry, I'm just getting news that we signed Nathan Peterman, the Falcons did.
No, are you serious?
About to go undefeated. We're about to win.
Yes, dude, let's go.
10 out of 10. But honestly, going back to the Rams, I think their defense is going to have a huge regression, especially with the absence of Aaron Donald. not only is he a leader, he was also a game wrecker, and I think that's going to hurt a lot. And then on the other side, Stafford should do fine. Williams is like, I'm not worried really about their offense. They're, core, I guess, four guys, Puka, Cup, Williams, and Stafford should be enough to win them, about 8 or 9 games. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm just worried that, Stafford might get hurt or something like that. Because was he a guy who was dealing with a hand injury last year?
Stafford has kind of always been dealing with injury these last couple of years. I think that's fair to
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say injury prone because that word gets thrown around a lot, but it's definitely like him and honestly, at this point, Joe Burrow, who are guys who have some type of lingering issue with their throwing arm, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm also not the biggest fan of Kyrie Williams. I know he's good, but that's about it. I'm like he's good, just not super high up on him with him.
Yeah, I am going to heavily disagree with you on the Rams.
There you
But
go.
before I get into them, second in the division is the 49ers. I have them losing the division.
I
And this is less of the 49ers to me and more of the Rams. So I guess before the 49ers, I will rebut the Rams take. I have the Rams finishing 11-6 and taking the division. And here is why. You look at the team last year, and the biggest major loss is Aaron Donald. But you look at the draft, and they've replaced a lot of the pass rushing volume with two Florida
they're
State
trying to
guys.
do a money ball thing, yes.
Exactly. They literally are playing Moneyball. You get Braden Fisk and you get Jared Verse, right? Other than him, the pass rush as a whole is very, very, very good. You have your two rookies from last year in Kobe Turner and Byron Young. You have some stalwart veterans that you just pick up this offseason in the secondary with Darius Williams and Cameron Curl, a DC guy that I know. You still got John Johnson back there. You still have some just general contributors that they seem to plug and play into that defense every offseason, right? The linebacking core is like solid, but not amazing. But they play a 3-4, so I wouldn't really put too much stock into it. And then the offense is really what I look at with this team. We both are very high on Matthew Stafford, which shocks me why you have him the team so low. You're throwing to not only Cooper Kupp, who's finally, hopefully, going to
I would
be
say
fully healthy again to run back his triple crown, but you've got Puka Nacua supplanting him. You've got tight ends like Tyler Higbee. You've got some more receiving depth, I believe. Actually, this is a good question. I want to see if their receiving depth is.
reading that.
Yeah, you've got
Right
Demarcus Robinson. He's solid. You got Tutu Atwell still. He's good, right? Your receiving depth is solid.
Higby is still out though, so they have Colby.
That is true. They have Colby Parkinson, but this offseason, you retool your offensive line. Your tackles are the most worrisome part of this entire roster for me. Both offensive tackles are very lackluster. You've got your left tackle suspended right now, which leaves Joe Noteboom back starting left tackle, who is like notably very bad. And then Rob Havenstein is like nothing to write home about. But you just pick up like three big names on the inside. You draft Steve Avila, a guy that I had pretty high. You have Jonah Jackson from the Rams, from the Lions, who I really like. And then Kevin Dotson, your homegrown guy, just got a bag as deserved. One of the best right guards in the league. So your interior is very solid on the offensive line, but your tackles are very scary. Which that is definitely the biggest red flag for me. But with guys like Kyron Williams and Blake Corum in the backfield,
did forget about Blake.
I think that his offense will mesh very well. I think the defense is really going to come into its own. I just generally really like the Rams this year.
I get that you like them, but can you explain to me why the Niners are not winning the division? Because
for me, mostly this is kind of a vibes.
I'll let you do it, but I'm going to rebuttal, and I think you'll just be like, yeah.
This is kind of a vibes pick for me. I think that this team is already kind of on the back foot. Trent Williams did finally just sign and report to camp as of today. He
Yep.
got about a 2-year, $50 million extension on his contract. Very deserved for a guy like him. He did get the bag, but I think he was hoping for something long term because this could be the year for him where he finally starts to show some decline. Generally, on the offensive line, there's been some movement. I think that I would be kind of worried for them if I was outside of Trent. I would be a little worried about the offensive line. But you do still have crazy, crazy weapons for Brock Purdy. Obviously, you have Christian McCaffrey. You have Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, and then the GOAT, George Kittle. But all I have to say, I just got bad vibes from this team right now. I think that the Rams are poised. I think Stafford is much better than Brock Purdy.
I'll give you that.
I'm kind of scrambling right now because, yes, on paper, the Niners are probably a better team, but
I wouldn't even say on paper. I think just like in general.
Let me have this one.
I'll say it, but one thing that you are not mentioning is how good that defense is.
Yeah, I know the defense is going to be, but you lose Chase Young this off season, so you have
Javon Hargrave, Leonard Floyd, Malik Commons, and Nick Bosa as your 4 lineup.
It's not as good as it has been in past years. You have Dre Greenlaw recovering from an ACL tear. You have Talanoa Hufanga working his way back on the field, but you still have our Charvarius Ward.
They still have good safeties. I mean, Jair Brown is still not. I mean, he's not like a notable guy, but he's still pretty dang good. Fred Warner and Devontae Campbell,
you do have Devontae Campbell, but he's kind of fallen off.
He's fallen off, but he's going to be replacing Greenlaw until he comes back, and then they'll probably move him.
Here is the real reason, because these Niners have been so good surrounding Brock Purdy and whoever else has been at quarterback these last couple of years that they've pretty much just kept the same core group of older guys. The Rams rely on, it's kind of the like total opposite. The Rams right now, especially with the retirement of Aaron Donald, are relying on young guys across the entire roster outside of their signal caller who has experience winning a ring, right? The 49ers have a lot of older talent. I wouldn't really call a guy like Nick Bosa old necessarily, but comparatively to the pass rush in LA, right? You have a lot of older talent supplanting a younger, less established quarterback. And I like the former mold more. That's all I'll say.
I do think veteran quarterback does beat, Brock Purdy. I'm not even going to just say veteran quarterback. Matthew Stafford is better than Brock Purdy. But I think you're also banking that they're going to be able to recreate Donald's pass rush with 3 people. That is 3 people to replace 1 person. That is going to run into issues more than it's not going to run into issues. And that's not saying anything about how good or bad these players are. Obviously, I do think all of those guys that they picked up to replace Donald are good. But it's like 3 dudes, this level talent. Donald's off the screen, okay? Like, even in his last years, the dominance that dude.
Maybe I'm predicting Aaron Donald to unretire. Maybe that's my prediction.
Bro, it's like, yeah, actually.
Did you see the McVay interview where he was like, they're like, have you called Aaron Donald? He was like, every day I call Aaron, and I'm like, hey, the door's open for you, because that's how Sean McVay talks. And I'm predicting him to unretire. That's really my real prediction here.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then he's gonna play like every position that they need.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think that's reasonable. That's pretty reasonable. With that being said,
let me clarify: 10-7, by the way, for the 49ers.
I have the 49ers going 14-3, winning the division and the NFC. Pretty lame take in my opinion, but I'm not gonna bet against.
Maybe I do just want to be different. Maybe that's why I do this.
I'm like, I will not wear the tinfoil hat on this one. There are other places where I like wearing the tinfoil hat. I'm not gonna win. I'm not gonna do that against the Niners. But with that being said, I don't know if we mentioned playoff picture, but if you don't mind, I can run through it real quick. So the Niners win that division, win the NFC, so they're going to be 1. Mm-hmm. We got the Lions at 2, and then that leaves the Eagles at 3, They do. I think they have a game where they play against each other, and the Lions win, but they also have a
Mm-hmm.
record. And then it leaves my lovely Falcons somewhere between 11-6 and 9-8, being in that fourth round.
Yep.
They will be playing the Packers, not the Cowboys. So then we can also meet the Cowboys in the Bahamas for both first round exits. So
Yeah, that's about right.
yeah, Kirk and Dak are about to know each other really good. And then I have the Commanders sneaking into that third spot at 9-8. I have
Hey,
more faith in your team than you do, man.
that's crazy. You said the Cowboys don't make the playoffs?
No, they do.
Oh,
They're
no,
the
wait, they
second one.
do.
Yeah, they're the second one. So they would play the.
So 3 NFC East teams. Wow.
Yeah, they'd be playing the Eagles first round. And then
How awesome would that be? That'd be so great. My playoff picture is as follows. So I got the Cowboys sneaking in at the 7th seed. The Niners still make the playoffs as the 6th seed. The Packers at the 5. The Falcons at the 4. The Rams at the 3. The Lions at the 2. And then the Eagles win the NFC. They have the 1.
And I think neither of those are crazy to say, apart from maybe the only thing I have a big beef with is the fact that the Niners are a
I like the
wild
Rams.
card.
I don't know.
You like the Rams? They could be a playoff spot. That's pretty doable.
Bro, just if how about
Agree
this?
to disagree here.
How about this? If the Rams win the division, you got to do the Waffle House fantasy football punishment.
Bro, you know what? I'll do it.
Virtual shake on this one.
Virtual shake.
Yeah, there we go. And then the opposite for me is true as well, which is probably not a bet that I should be making. But
I was gonna say you're gonna be eating a lot of waffles there, dude.
Dude, it's okay. We'll work it out. I'm gonna do it in an IHOP though, so I don't die.
I only have Waffle Houses near me. If I'm being honest with you,
No, I've got
I'll risk it for the pod.
So before we shove off, we can also run through our preseason award predictions. If you'd like to do that, you want
to just bang this out? We can do that.
You can bang this out. There's not a whole lot of analysis here with these because preseason awards is pretty much just a crapshoot.
It's shiggles. You want to start with the offensive rookie?
Sure. So my offensive rookie of the year, you've got a lot of quarterbacks to choose from, but because they all have such similar seasons, Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Marvin Harrison will have 1,500 yards and like 115 catches, 10 touchdowns. He's going to be the sole generator of offense in Arizona and a team that almost makes the playoffs. And I've loved Marvin Harrison Jr. for like 3 years. So
yeah, I mean, little big lays in there, but I do also have him winning, but I have in parentheses that Daniels could do it if they do bring him to a playoff.
I think so.
Because they do love that QB success. That definitely helps a lot.
And I think so, for sure. This could be like an Andrew Luck RG3 year.
Yeah.
So very, very possible. So defensive rookie of the year, who do you have?
I have an interesting one, and it was mainly just because I saw him in the preseason game, and I liked the uncoachables that I saw from him. It's Chop Robinson.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
It's either that or it's one of the corners.
Yeah. So my original pick was Laiatu Latu because he was my favorite defensive player in the draft. But with the Colts missing out on the playoffs in my exercise, I'm actually changing it. Excuse me. I am changing it to Nate Wiggins, the Ravens corner, a guy that I did not have ranked very highly in the draft at all. And I'm kind of eating shit about because if you watched him in the preseason, that man is a dog.
He was good.
He was very good. And I think that he will be a really good sliding in right into the system. And with the Ravens being a playoff contender, I think that he gets a lot of coverage, a lot of press. And I think he wins the award.
So, yeah, Chomp. Like I said, I already said what I like about him. I like the upside.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. He does have some crazy upside. Just depends on how much playing time he gets.
Yeah, as I say, I definitely think he'll be able to sneak in on that line a lot more than people do think. Offensive player of the year?
My offensive player of the year, I'm a contrarian. I like to pick somebody weird for this award every year. And this guy isn't weird. That's a mean thing to say about a guy like this. But it is a little bit out of the box and maybe a bit too fantasy football minded, but my guy Breece Hall is going to win Offensive Player of the Year, man. Get ready. He's going to have a 1,600 rushing yard season. He's going to have like a 2,400 yard all-purpose season. This man is about to pop the fuck off. You have no idea. Brees Hall is my pick.
So I have my just common sense one. It's gonna be Tyreek Hill, but I do have the one that I like more, and I'm kind of going off the same thing.
Bijan.
However, I think this quarterback likes dumping the ball off a little bit more than Aaron Rodgers, and it is Bijan.
Yeah, there it is.
I think one of those two is a very solid dark horse for this race.
Yeah, I think so. I think Bijan probably more so than
Yeah. Just
oh my god.
What?
I just got a text from Briggs.
Oh, it's gonna tell
Briggs.
You to shut up. Oh,
Briggs, do you want to share your pick for MVP? Come here.
Man, I'm gonna do MVP. MVP's boring.
Do you want to share your pick for NFL MVP? Yeah. Do you want to share your pick for NFL MVP? Yeah. You're gonna be on the internet, bro. All right.
Let's hear it.
Welcome, special guest Mason Briggs Shimoleski. Clap it up. I can't. I'm holding the mic. All right. Who do you have winning MVP?
George Pickens.
Thank you, Briggs.
Ball.
All right. Clap it up for Briggs. Thank you, Briggs. Okay.
I think that was a legendary call. But,
I think so.
Depoy. That's what we're on.
My defensive player of the year is Max Crosby.
I actually really like that one, but I do think there is two people who are kind of the gimme at this point. Because my dark horse is not neither of these two, but I think Parsons or Watt are going to show why they're still one of the more dominant edge rushers. But hear me out. Sauce Gardner could make a damn good case this year.
That's true. If there's ever a year for a corner to win it, it feels like this year we're kind of burned out on the same couple of guys, the Nick Bosa's, the TJ Watts, the Myles Garrett's, the Micah Parsons. Let's get a corner in here, right?
I'll say get a corner up in here, and I do think he plays a lot of high-end receivers. So if he's able to lock those dudes down, I think he might have a good case for it.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Comeback player of the year. I don't know if you did this one.
This one's easy. If the Jets are going to be good, it's Aaron Rodgers. This one's easy.
I did. I also have Aaron Rodgers, but I was like at the same, literally same coming back from the same injury. Kirk Cousins. It's really good. Just depend on who's
That's true,
team's
actually.
A little bit better.
I kind of
my
forgot
jokingly haha one was because sometimes they do it where it's like you come back from just being mid. Kyle Pitts, baby.
That would be kind of cool if Kyle Pitts has a crazy year. That would be kind of cool.
They probably wouldn't do that, but I wouldn't. Just saying, he could be there.
Yeah, that's true.
Going in the coach, I think this one for me is a pretty slam dunk. It's Dan Campbell.
Okay.
However, if the Falcons get an 11-6 record after being pretty mid, I can see Morris getting a pretty strong case for him.
Raheem Morris, I think, is definitely my like real legit pick. But my pick that I'm going to give for you today, if you didn't watch part 1 of this video, I am super high, comparatively speaking, on the Raiders. And I think if they manage an 8-win season, I think I had them in a 9-win season.
I was going to say, you had them winning.
If they manage a winning record, they're not even in the playoffs. Antonio Pierce is winning coach of the year.
That is also pretty fair because they were also, put it simply, terrible team. And that leaves MVP. Do we have the same guy? Probably.
Say it with me on 3. 1, 2, 3. Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to not bet against him.
Yeah, I mean, when looking at this season, you've got guys like C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love getting hyped. You've got guys like Joe Burrow off injury coming off injury, getting hyped. Right, you've even got some dark horses like McCaffrey getting one, or if it's a non-quarterback, right? But let's just be honest. It seems like every other year Mahomes has another pop-off, and you actually give him some weapons this year, and he's going to have those highlight big plays that we know him for.
He has Juju, who's fine. Obviously,
Xavier Worthy, right?
Then they even have good running. They have everything that they need to make him.
He's geared up once again to win, to have an MVP season.
40 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Cool tame 40 touchdowns.
he's poised once again to have another MVP type year.
Especially I think he might have to rely more on his offensive ability versus just having a good defense. So maybe not playing hero ball by any means, but like at this point, that offense is more calibered than the defense. So
I
I
agree.
think that's like the easiest slam dunk pick.
Yeah,
You know, big surprise. It's
I know.
it's
Seriously,
Mahomes.
sorry, we're not contrarians here, but genuinely, I do believe
No,
that
it's actually Dak Prescott, guys. He's going to win it.
low key he probably could have gotten it last year. But anyways, we're not fans. All right then. With that, we have our full season preview up. My Super Bowl prediction. Before we sign off here,
This
is
a
the
big
Chiefs
shocker.
win
There
it.
we
No, the Chiefs win it.
Honestly,
But they win
Chiefs,
it
Falcons,
over the
Falcons win.
Rams, just to spite you.
Just to spite me.
The Rams
That's
make it all the way to the big game.
The Falcons are actually going to win. Kirk Cousins is going to quadruple.
The Falcons this
his
year blow a
playoff
29-point lead to choke it away.
Hold on. 30. Come on, man.
Make it 30. Nice round number.
I'll say clean, even number.
Mhm.
No, it's probably going to be the Chiefs against, like, I don't know. No, not the Cowboys. They won't see a playoff game.
No, they won't.
Sorry, guys.
Lions. You want to throw the Lions in the big game?
I'll do a Lions. I was going to jokingly say Commanders, but I think both of us are
Yes!
neither of our teams are going to be touching
Yes!
the Super Bowl anytime soon.
The Commanders
So,
are winning the Super Bowl.
I'll say Lions or Packers. I think those are my two favorites. Because I do think, to your point, the Niners have regressed just enough to lose. So,
All right. Well, this has been the NFL season preview for 2024. I'm pumped to see if they crumble immediately in week one or, if we are really prophets. So,
wrong.
yes.
But
But until then, we will be back to let you know how right we were at some point
Totally.
in the future. But check out the TikTok. Good things happening over there again. The Instagram. Wherever you are watching this on, we appreciate it, whether it is YouTube, Spotify, Apple podcasts, and beyond. And yeah, until next time, we appreciate you hanging with us.